With so many headline RPGs coming out, it's easy to overlook a large collection of releases that could be highlights of your personal year of gaming, and today I might have one for you. It's a tactical game called Lost Eidolons: Veil of the Witch. I want to thank Ocean Drive Studios for reaching out and sponsoring the video. The game is already released for PS5, Xbox Series, Steam and Nintendo Switch, with a demo also available on Steam, Xbox and PS5 with save carryover. My main aim this time around though is to simply provide an overview of the game, giving you an idea of what a typical gameplay session may look like, showing you its main features and its structure. If you like what you see, there will be a link in the description. Veil of the Witch is a sequel to the original game Lost Eidolons, taking place 5 years after the events of that story. Though this game is easily understandable for someone who hasn't played that original, like me, there are certain characters who make mention of key events within it, in some cases becoming the background and justification for their entire character arc and personality. So there does seem to be merit in checking out that original too, if this one grabs you. In the case of Veil of the Witch though, it is mostly standalone in terms of the plot shown here, taking place on an island called Anaraios off the northwest of the continent, where we find our amnesiac protag, who by default is called Ash, though you can rename them. For the purposes of this video, I'll just be calling him Ash. Soon after ending up shipwrecked on the island with no way of escaping, Ash is made aware that the island is currently the centre of a cult who are in support of the late collapsed empire, and this cult is using all manners of witchcraft and necromancy to bring chaos to the inhabitants. Ash, along with a group of up to 4 others, set out on expeditions to effectively sort it out. It won't take long before you get stuck into the gameplay. Story beats are quite rapid, as is dialogue. Within 10 minutes, I was partaking in the tactical combat. For anyone who has played games like Fire Emblem or Triangle Strategy, it's going to feel quite familiar and will be easy to pick up, with the objective shown beforehand, which is typically kill all enemies. Turns alternate between the player and enemy, where all units get an action before moving over. Every character takes up a certain role and has a main and sub weapon which can be switched easily, with certain abilities locked behind whether the character is wielding that particular weapon. For example, healing abilities can only be used if Evie, the cleric, is using her tome. Movement is highlighted beforehand, and at the press of a button you can see the range of enemies to maneuver around them. Plus you'll need to keep an eye on the terrain for potential dangers or advantages. For instance, standing in a brush is going to increase the guard rate of an ally, but it also has the potential of being burned down by a fire spell, which can deal extra damage. Standing in water presents danger if hit by lightning, or can be frozen over by using ice spells, so even though there's no layers of height to the maps here, there has been thought put into manipulating the land itself. If you happen to make a mistake, the game also offers a redo option encompassing the entire fight, though you can only use it to a max of 3 times by default, but it can be increased through a few other means. The game also has weaknesses to contend with, where enemies will wear a certain type of armour, like robes, light armour and heavy armour, and specific weapons will get damage bonuses if you attack with the right weapon. This is easily seen too, as the graphic will highlight if the enemy is weak to the attack. There are moments as well where larger enemies will show up, and even though they will have high levels of health, they will have quadrants of weaknesses to focus on, with more damage inflicted as each one is targeted. A big point of strategy here is to position units so that the quadrants are reachable by the units who can exploit it. So for instance, if a blade-based weakness is on the opposite side of where a unit is, you might be able to get the enemy to turn around by attacking it from the other side, thus making that weakness more easily reachable. Each unit also has passive abilities that may activate depending on their affinity with the other characters, which will grow during certain events or at the end of an expedition. There is also an element called Zone of Control, which essentially blocks enemies from moving between ally lines depending on how they're positioned, so this is the best way of blocking off the more vulnerable units. The only time this mechanic is overturned is if the enemy has a specific ability that allows them to do so. Talking about abilities, this is a key feature of any expedition. Though Veil of the Witch is a tactical game, it's also a roguelite, meaning you essentially need to finish the game in one life. If you happen to lose a fight and get a game over, you'll have to start from the beginning and you lose all your progress, so abilities, stat growth, levels and more. We'll be diving into this feature a bit later on, as dying is a part of the gameplay loop here. For the abilities specifically though, characters will periodically level up to a max of 20, and in typical roguelite fashion, you get a choice of what skill or stat increase you want, and you can re-roll this for a fee if neither choice takes your fancy. The skills themselves are split between 4 rarities: common, which is uncoloured, rare, which is blue, legendary, which is gold or yellow, whatever, I'm partially colourblind so I don't really care, and finally mythic, which is this kind of orangey red. Typically, the higher the rarity, the better the skill. Now there's no question that even the uncommon abilities have their uses, so having a good balance of skills is important for any run. But because it's a roguelite, every run will essentially be different because you'll be getting new skills or abilities, with each character having a large pool to choose from. It's merely luck of the draw what you get. When a battle ends, some stat growth is attributed to each character at random, and you'll also get some items like resonant stones which you can slot into equipment for further bonuses, ranging from stat boosts once again to new mythic abilities. Outside of combat, you'll be presented with a number of branching paths as you slowly make your way through the map, and each symbol gives you an idea of what you may see, so it comes down to the player to decide what will give them the best chance of success. For instance, the scale symbol indicates that a shop is down that path, which can be useful in order to buy new resonant stones for equipment or healing items, as characters do not regain health between battles by default. A tent icon indicates the opportunity to rest or train skills into better versions. There are chances to pick up new relics via a trash-talking crow, with the relics often having powerful boons of their own, but also having side effects too, and in some cases you may even bump into a recruitable character. And this is how it goes. You keep pushing on through 3 acts and hope you get to the end, with enemies getting progressively more powerful as each one passes. There is also a 4th act that unlocks if you are successful in completing the first 3, though that requires a separate run to check out. The reality is that you'll probably not be able to complete the 3 acts on your first run. It took me 4 tries to do so myself, though no doubt those who are more adept at tactical games could do it in less. But death is not a bad thing in Veil of the Witch, in fact it's just a core part of the game. Unlike a roguelike, which erases all progress, a roguelite, like Veil of the Witch, will allow you to get a little bit stronger before you take on your next run by using items you found during the expedition. For instance, rune fragments can be used to advance a unit's class to the next level, and not only does this give some small stat boosts, but it more importantly opens up brand new abilities which you have a chance to attain as you level up, deepening your options to work with. There is also a dedicated skill tree, which you use your Sacred Embers for, and these will give bonuses like increasing critical hit chance for axe wielders, healing characters before every fight and more, and these passive boons are permanent, so the more you get, the more powerful you become, though it's not so impactful that you'll be steamrolling over everything from just unlocking them. Veil of the Witch intends for the challenge to remain, even with this minor assistance. If you're successful on an expedition for the first time, you will also get access to a trial mode, which will increase the challenge of the next run, giving you higher rewards if you manage to succeed. These handicaps can be anything from putting all mythic abilities on cooldown at the start of a fight, to straight up reducing the max HP of ally units, so that challenge is flexible around the choice of the player. While back in town, you can also speak to the other party members to get a little bit more on their personal stories and relations, and you can also use mirror shards to dive deeper into the backstory of Ash himself as he attempts to regain his lost memories. Once you've had a sufficient respite, you set back out and try again. And that is the core offering of Veil of the Witch. You set out on expeditions, you'll most likely die, you try again a little bit stronger, but the real experience here is that with each run, you'll gain a better understanding of what each encounter and boss does, and what skills to prioritise. It's as much tangible improvement through skills as it is benefit from knowledge gained during battle itself. The idea is that with each run, you'll just naturally improve in terms of how you play the game, and eventually you'll be able to get through all 4 chapters. And that is pretty much every base covered, and hopefully that's given you guys enough to decide for yourselves. As I said before, if you like what you see, the link is in the description. Thank you once again to Ocean Drive Studio for reaching out to me and letting me cover the game, and thank you for listening.